Good morning, guys. Can you hear me there, guys? Mm. Hello, hello.
Hello,
Hey, Brett.
how you doing?
I am good. I see that Syed and Jamie have joined too. Can you guys say howdy so I know that you have audio? Is that Syed? I hear something, but not a voice.
Hi.
Hi, Jamie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I am doing just fine. I am doing just fine. There you are.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you. It's a weird world we're in.
It's a weird world we're living in. I agree completely. It's a crazy one.
Also, I've never really done a Zoom meeting.
This is your
So,
first Zoom? Wow.
yeah, none of my professors have really had one. My family randomly does them, but I haven't
Yeah?
really done them.
Well, I'm glad to be your inaugural Zoom professor.
Yeah, so I might mess something up, but
Hopefully, I won't screw it up. I can guarantee that future Zoom presentations will be led by somebody much better dressed than I am at the moment. But
I'm
that's
gonna
what-
try and put this light up in front of me.
Sure. All right. Oh, we're getting a good turnout. I see several of you have joined. There we go. We've got Matt from San Diego, Brett, Syed, Emilio, and Jamie. That's terrific. I know that we won't be joined by Nikki because she is she's pretty integral to the convocation stuff happening on university. I don't think Franklin will join us either. We've been emailing, and I'm trying to think if there's anybody else. There are two others.
Kobe.
Who's that? Oh, Kobe.
Kobe.
Right. Kobe, I don't know what his plan is. He may be joining a little later. And there's one other, and I'll have to look it up. Anyway, this has been a really weird course for me because I've never taught pure online before. So I hope it hasn't been a disappointment. I mean, there's things about it that have disappointed me. I hope I haven't disappointed you too much. It's really it's difficult for me to not know or get to know students. I know Jamie, I know Brett, and I know Kobe, but I don't know anybody else. And so it's just been weird. And I like to, I like to joke around with students and get to know them a little bit. I think that that leads to better learning for everybody. And I don't really get the opportunity to do that. So anyway, hopefully you guys have enjoyed the class. I tried to, I was going to promote the student evaluations, but I only saw like 2 people are eligible to do the student evaluations or something like that. So maybe it just works different with the online MBA. But if you do have an opportunity to provide some feedback via student evaluation, I'd appreciate it. It would be great to hear your suggestions for improvement. This is my first online only course. So I'm sure I've got plenty of things to improve upon. All right, well, who would like to present first? Is there somebody who wants to volunteer, or do you want me to choose one among you for to go first? Okay, Brett, you're up, buddy.
Sounds good. I was just about to volunteer.
Okay, I could sense it, and so I decided to volunteer you. Sometimes you need a little shove, or sometimes I need to shove somebody just for fun. All right,
All
Brett.
right.
So
Should I share my screen?
Yeah. Let me. Wait a minute. Let's see here. What do I have to do? Pause, share, and then breakout rooms, pause recording, stop recording, meeting info. Meeting info, maybe this is where I do it. No. Well, just see if you can share.
It says you disabled attendee screen sharing.
How could I do that? Okay. Hey, Emilio. How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Hey, Syed. How are you? It's the first time I've seen you guys. So
Volume.
here, let me turn this light off so I don't look like some creature from a Scooby-Doo episode. All right. Sorry. Bear with me here while I figure out how to share screen share. Here it is. Multiple. Wait a minute. Advanced sharing options. Only host, all participants. It says all participants. Okay.
I'll try again.
Give it a try, Brett.
Can you see it?
I can see a big ugly monster on your screen. There we go.
All right. Do you want me to show the Excel sheet at all or just the PowerPoint?
Well, I think probably your presentation will be primarily with the PowerPoint, but then I may ask you to drill down into the ROI analysis, and so yeah, I would keep the spreadsheet open.
Okay.
Sound good?
Sounds good.
All right, take it away, Brett.
All right. So this is my final Finance 591. My name is Brett Boston. Let's get into it. So this will be an overview. The property will be the first thing that we look at, mainly just looking at what the property is, the amenities that it offers, and kind of the unit mix. After that, we'll go over the valuation estimate. Look at all those things, look at the return on investment and the upfront capital required to start the investment. So for the property overview, the first thing we got is about the property. It is 1330 Potter Drive, the Tribune Apartments in Colorado Springs, Colorado. It has 41 units. The biggest downfall I noticed about this property is that it only has 40 parking spaces, especially since there's a lot of multifamily units with like 2 rooms. I feel like 40 parking spaces is a really small amount for this apartment complex, but other than that, everything else seemed pretty good. The total square footage is 34,466 feet. The lot size is 1.15 acres. It was built in 1968. It's a 3-story building. It's a low-rise apartment complex. For the utilities, the gas is master gas. Electrical is individual, kind of like how Professor Holman went over in one of his videos. I believe master means that it's just 1 meter and you have to pay everything. And then electrical, it's individual meters, and I'm not sure if you would pay it or the tenants would pay it. That's something you'd figure out before you purchase this, obviously. Water, also master. Heating is a boiler. Don't know anything about those, so hopefully the manager that I hired to run this complex knew something about boilers. Cooling is all wall units in each different apartment, and a highlight about this complex is that it has a very good unit mix. Next is the amenities offered by this apartment complex. All the units have air conditioning. They have ceiling fans. They come with microwaves. They have ovens, dishwashers, refrigerators. They have carpet. The carpet looks really new. The bathrooms looks recently remodeled. Kitchens are kind of small, but they look pretty nice. There's disposal offered. There's controlled access, which means it's kind of like gated in a sense. There's a courtyard they can go hang out in. There's laundry facilities, and it is wheelchair accessible. Past that is the unit mix. So there's 3 different types of units. There's studio apartments, 1 bed, 1 bath apartments, and 2 bed, 1 bath apartments. There's 7 of the studio apartments, 11 of the 1 bed, and 23 of the 2 bed. When I was doing research on these, they said a good idea when you're looking for an apartment complex is try to find a unit mix that has twice as many 2 beds as it does 1 beds. I'm not sure why they don't calculate studio apartments into that mix because it's basically just a 1 bed open unit, but I guess they don't calculate studio apartments into that. The average square footage.
Let me pause you for a second there, Brett, and ask a question. Where was this that you saw that it should have, what'd you say, twice the 2 bedrooms as 1 bedrooms?
Yeah, so I was researching like what makes a good investment apartment complex, stuff to look for. And I don't remember the exact website that it was. It might have even been the people that were selling this apartment complex, because most of the ones I found in the area were sold by that company that had like the fancy 12-page document with all the orange lettering.
Oh,
and
right.
stuff like
Yeah, the same brokers based in Denver.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I think it might have been something I read off of theirs or something like that, but they recommended that.
Okay.
They also recommended some other weird stuff that I wasn't aware of, but there's the
Just
square footage.
Just a personal insert. 2 bedroom, 1 bath will attract families who are sometimes more difficult to manage than single people. So, you know, that's just, I prefer one bedrooms because evicting a family with children is no fun at all, but sometimes they don't pay. So anyway, sorry, go ahead now.
Square footage, studios are the smallest ones. One bed, one baths are slightly larger, and obviously the two bed, one baths are the largest. The total average square foot for the units is 724 square feet. Past that, here is a couple of the outside pictures of this apartment complex. It's not the most beautiful thing in the world. I think, you know, there'd definitely be some ways that you can freshen her up, maybe some fresh paint, some other things like that to make it look a little less dated.
Let me tell
There
you
can
what is beautiful about this. There's no maintenance that I see. There's no lawn to mow, which means you
yes.
have to run sprinklers, except for maybe to water the trees and the bushes. The shrubs look like they're the kind of thing you might trim once a month at best. So
hmm
there's a lot of beauty here in the eye of somebody like me who's a cheapskate when it comes to maintenance. So,
Yeah, xeriscaping is the best thing to do. That's what we do with all our houses.
yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Um, Past that, we have some interior pics. Bathrooms are recently redone, like you see here. The kitchens, they're a little small. I don't love the countertops, but you know, if it were me, I would probably do a little more to kind of brighten these up. You know, I'd probably throw in a backsplash. You know, people love backsplashes. Kitchens are a huge selling points these days. Same thing with bathrooms. That's why I like the fact that the bathrooms were recently redone. On the right side over here, we got one of the bedrooms. On the left side here, this is I'm not sure if this was like a living room area or if this was a shot of one of the studio apartments. They didn't really give any description on it, but I'm just going to assume this might have been a living room here in the middle, and then on the right side, we got a front and back shot of one of the bedrooms. But other than updating the kitchen a little bit, I think it looks pretty good as is.
Mhm.
Getting to the valuation estimate next. Here's the price per unit. So the asking price of this 41 unit complex is $4.3 million. Here's the different types of units. So the price of unit, if you divide this 44.3 million by 41, you get a total price per unit of $104,878.05. A little steep, not too bad. I went off the asking price, but if it were me investing in this, I'd probably try to drop this down to 4 million flat if they were willing to take it. It's been on the market since 2018, so it's been on there quite a while. I feel like they would be willing to drop the price a little bit. 10% may seem a bit high to drop it by, but there's a good possibility that they're just wanting to get rid of this one at this point.
Never be afraid to throw a low ball offer.
Exactly.
Be scared. And if your real estate agent says, "Oh, I don't do that. We only make offers within 10% of the asking price," find a new agent.
Exactly. If you don't ask, you'll never know.
That's right.
So moving on to the gross rent multiplier, the estimated rent per unit, according to the realtor company, they recommend that you could probably get $625 for the studios, $725 for the one bed, one baths, and $825 for the two bed, one baths. I went with their numbers. I think they're a little low. I think if I'd made a couple of those upgrades, I could probably charge slightly more for some of these units, especially if you add something special to them or something like that. So for the annual per rent per each unit, a studio apartment would get you $7,500 a year. A one bed, one bath gets you $8,700 a year. A two bed, one bath gets you $9,900 a year. And then on the right here for the total annual rent, I multiplied it by the amount of units there are. So obviously there's mostly two bed, one bath units. So most of your money comes from there.
Yeah.
For the total rent
here.
that you,
The 2 bedroom, 1 bath, that seems way low. Who knows the Springs market? Jamie, do you know the Springs market well enough to say whether that's a low end price for a 2 bedroom, 1 bath apartment? Oh, you're muted, hon. Yeah, there you go.
Sorry.
Okay.
I think it kind of just depends on the area. Like I live up kind of off of like Stetson Hills, and I know
Mhm.
like this area is like really expensive, like the north like east region.
Okay.
But if this is like, I know that there's like a lot of apartments like south where they're more around like the $1,000 range. Like if you get on the south end of Springs, or
Uh-huh.
like maybe if you're like more west.
Uh-huh.
But I know that like all the apartments up here for a 2 bedroom, you're not gonna find one for like under 1,300.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
This is sort of, I guess I'd say East Central Springs. It's right off of where is it? Near Palmer Park and
Oh, Palmer Park. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you could probably charge a
Panic.
little bit. But like I've never seen an apartment for $800 up here in Springs. I mean,
Yeah.
I definitely think that you could probably get away with even 1,100, 1,200, especially like with the renovations that you plan on doing.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's So that's good. I mean, that means that there's some, maybe in 2018 these numbers were more reasonable, and
Hmm.
the prices have gone up considerably since, or maybe they just, somebody who owns it is an absentee owner. Did you look up the county assessor record for the property, the El Paso
No,
County? Because
I did not look that up.
something to do, like I know you don't have $4 million laying around to buy this, um, but if you were really serious about pursuing a property like this, you'd want to find out who the owner is, and you want to check their mailing address. Sometimes that can give you some really important information. So if you saw that the mailing address was in Colorado Springs, then you might check out that address, and maybe you'd find it's a property manager, and so that they're handling the mail. Maybe you'd find an address in California or New York or Texas, and then you'd know it's an absentee owner, and that might be a problem for the current building, because absentee owners tend to care less.
Hmm.
They're not paying attention. They probably have more money than they need, and so they're not worried about it as long as they're collecting their rent on a regular basis. So, okay.
Yeah, I definitely thought the numbers were a little low. I just went off of what they said because I didn't want to put anything too astronomical, especially since I don't know the Springs market. I could have done a little more research on that, but I
No, it's
trust the
good to be
professionals.
it's good to be conservative, because you want because you kind of want a low end consideration, and then you could do a sensitivity analysis with your ROI. You could raise the rents and see, okay, well, what it would look like if I got, say 1,100 per 2 bedroom 1 bath, and 900 for the 1 bedroom 1 bath. You could play around
Yeah,
with numbers and see. Okay, I'm probably interrupting you more than I'll interrupt others, Brett. So thanks
no
for
worries.
being a guinea pig, and I'm just taking advantage of this to try to share some ideas.
I got some time off work, so I got all the time in the world.
Okay.
But for the averages, I took all the numbers, and the actual average would be 725. But I multiplied the numbers by how many units there were, so the actual average rent based on the weight would be 764.02 that you'd be getting, and then the average annual rent per unit that you'd be getting would be 9168.29. For a total annual rent that you'll be receiving is just under $376,000, which makes the monthly rent that you'll be receiving just over $31,000 for a really horrible gross rent multiplier of 11.44, which
Well,
is much
I've
higher
seen
than you
worse.
recommended.
Yeah. Well, uh, keep in mind that if you're thinking of the recommended numbers that I've suggested, that's based on being a cheapskate in Pueblo, and Pueblo prices are lower, and it's where you find value. And if you can get a low multiple like that, that probably means it's a dump, and you're going to have to either put a bunch of money in it, or you're going to have a higher frequency of headaches, because you have lower income renters who tend to be more of a challenge to collect rent from, and they're more likely to get in trouble, and require that you evict them or call the police, or so it comes with the price tag. So it's not, there's not really, I wouldn't get too hung up on whatever I said as a gross rent multiplier, or whatever anybody else says. It varies. I think you look at the ROI more than you look, but it's a great rule of thumb. Like, what's
Mhm.
the, because you can say, oh, okay, 40 units, maybe I get 1,000 a unit, 40 grand a month, multiply by 12, and then divide that by the asking, or divide the asking price by that amount, and you can come up with a quick number. You might be able to do it in your head while you're there, or with your phone and a calculator, and so it's a good rule of thumb way to come up with a quick valuation, and to try to understand what value might be there before you dig into an ROI.
Okay. I do have my spreadsheet still, so we can plug those numbers in and get a new ROI or a gross rent multiplier real quick if we wanted to after this.
Okay,
But
yeah, we'll
moving
get
on,
there. Hmm.
cap rate. So this is all according to them. The taxes they recommend, or that they said that we'd be paid on the property, $9,113. Insurance costs for the property, just over 17 and a half. Utilities, they said it would be just over 32,000. Maintenance and repairs, they gave this in one. I kind of split it up. I figured repairs would cost more than maintenance. They're basically hand in hand the same thing in my opinion. But
Yep.
management, somebody living in one of the units, you're going to lose some rent. That's why the vacancy's there too. Plus you got to pay them. So that's actually a pretty big expense for the total expense being $147,241 a year, which makes your net income $228,659 for a cap rate of, I believe it says 5.32%. And then that's not horrible, I guess. Their numbers were slightly different on this because they didn't calculate in the vacancy as one of the expenses. But if you're not making money and you're losing one of your units and it becomes a 40 unit complex, I think that is an expense. Past that, we got the return on investment. So for the start, we have the rent and expenses. So rent, we just went off of the monthly amount that I calculated of $31,325 each month, and that gets calculated by 12. So that's like the monthly rent for each year. Obviously, if it were me, I would increase the rent, every, probably 2 years or probably at the end of every lease, depending on how long the lease was signed for. I know apartment leases are slightly different than house leases, but I'd probably change that every time somebody left, to match the market. Past that, these are pretty much the same expenses we just saw before, just without the net profit part of it. And then the loan and interest, they recommended a 25% down payment on this. I don't know why they recommended 25 over 20, but I went with their recommendation, which makes the loan amount 3.225 million on a 30-year loan at 3.13 interest.
The reason they
And then
recommend that is that banks often require it on a commercial property. You're often required to put more than 20% down. Just it's a higher risk loan for the bank.
makes sense. So then on to our analyzed return on investment. Here's all the numbers put in there. We've got our original loan of 3.225, got our property value of 4.3, and then calculating all the other expenses and all that stuff. We finally get down to an analyzed return on investment after 5 years of 8.33, which isn't horrible. Could be a little higher. Probably would be if we adjusted the rent and stuff like that. But I was somewhat content with that.
The property value. So if you would want to run it with a property valuation of 4 million, and then change your loan to be 1 million even, and then and if you got the same rent on those numbers, then of course your return will go up a little bit. So you'd want to do that kind of sensitivity analysis, but you'd also want to kind of come up with the worst case scenario at the same.
Which is this?
Yeah. So it's not bad. It's hard to get 8% on your money now, and the cap rate is supposed to tell you roughly what this annualized ROI would be, and so it's tough to find a high return because there's a lot of money floating out there with no easy return from a bank account, from a savings account. So everybody has to deploy. That's why the stock market is ridiculously overpriced, and that's why deals like these are priced the way they are, because people need a place to make money, and it's hard to find them these days. All right, keep on rolling.
Moving on, we have the amortization schedule for the first 24 months. This is what it looks like. Obviously, most of it goes towards interest at the beginning, and slowly but surely, eventually you get towards the last 24 months once you're in 2050, which
well, those are big numbers though.
Times.
Yeah, $4,500 a month is basically, that's money in your pocket essentially in the form of equity, which is the best kind, because then your wife or husband or kids can't touch that money. It's locked into the property. So it's a great savings vehicle. Go ahead.
And then finally get it paid off July 2050, and you pay slightly more than you did every other month, but you're finally done paying it off. So that's a good feeling.
Indeed.
Past that, we have the upfront capital required.
Okay.
So the first expense that you're going to have on the upfront capital required is the down payment of 25%, which is 1.075 million. Then after that, according to a website I found online where I looked up closing costs on a house, I put in the price of this one and everything like that. So these numbers just might not be exactly accurate because I don't know if commercial properties are slightly different. But the closing costs and fees were 13,565. The escrow and prepaid fees were 35,486. I calculated in first month's expenses, which I just took all my expenses divided by 12. And then I added in a safety net of $50,000 because I'm sure there's going to be something else that goes wrong or something else that's broken that you don't like, that you want to fix. And like I said, doing a little remodel on all the kitchens as people move out, stuff like that. There's going to be something that you're going to have to account for that you're not sure is going to be there. So that gave me a total expenses of $1,186,321.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's exactly what I was thinking you would do with upfront, is just sort of, okay, how much cash do I need to make sure I'm successful in closing the deal and don't get caught without any money in the first month before you can collect rent. Now this is a great slide. Look at the tie on this kid. Oh man, are you sitting on your WRX there?
No, that's my old car. That's my RX-8.
Ah, yeah, okay. Well, you might maybe you should update the picture then, you know. Get the
I definitely agree.
All
Know
right.
anybody with a good camera?
No. um, all right. Great job, Brett. Let's see. Let's look at the ROI and just grab a. Yeah, here we go. So let's play. You want to? Well, I don't know how disruptive this would be, but take the property value down to 4 million. See what
All
happens.
right. So first we'll start with that. Yeah. So the property value, if it was only 4 million, that takes us up quite a bit. That went from
Yeah.
8.33 to 10.77, which is
Yeah.
much
And
better.
right. And you could have a lower mortgage if you could rerun the numbers, but that's probably more, that may not be worth the effort unless you've got it all hooked up. You'll have to recalculate the payment amount. But yeah, that jumps you over 10% right there. And then let's change the rent. So let's
Okay.
say make the average rent, let's say you might get as high as I don't know, let's say like 38,000 a month, right? Because for 41 units, we were thinking maybe closer to 1,000 per unit because maybe the 2 bedrooms are a little over 1,000 per unit, right?
Mhm.
So now you're up at 12.5% annualized. So that's good. That makes you feel good about the upside of the deal. And then, probably you would also say, well, what if I can only collect this much rent? And what if my expenses are 10%, 20% higher, something like that? In previous real estate classes I've taught, a guy named Lee Meisner has come in, and he works with Dan DeRosa's company, and they do a lot of commercial real estate investment. And he says what they'll do is they'll look at the deal, assuming that their numbers, they'll try to come up with their best numbers, and then they'll cut them all by 50% and see if the deal still stands up. So it's sort of like, catastrophe planning. So if something goes terribly wrong and they're only able to bank 50% of the revenue that they expect, does the deal still survive? They use that as sort of what I would think of as a sensitivity analysis.
Mhm.
But they like that. It keeps them out of trouble, is what he's saying. And they have real money on the line, like, deals like this size. So bless you, Jamie. All right. I think that's great, Brett. Excellent job. Anybody have questions for Brett? No?
Awesome.
Wait, are you sure? Maybe somebody still. Oh, bless you again, Jamie. All right. Well, I
If you
guess
want, we can.
Just dying.
I grilled you pretty good, Brett. So I guess we'll let you off the hook. But very nice job. And this looks like, I mean, I wish I had 3 million laying around. I'd make a low ball offer and see. This seems like a nice building. That it looks like the structure is sound. There's brick. It's not gonna get torn down by a tornado, or maybe the roof will get destroyed by hail. But insurance picks that up. So yeah, I think this looks like this is a very nice job, Brett. Good work.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right. Who's up next? Who would like to go next? Syed, I see your mouth moving, but I think I can't hear you. Were you wanting to go next? Oh, I still can't hear you. Try volume control because I don't see the mute on. Still can't hear you. Sorry. No volume. Yeah, sometimes do you have like one of these little things? Like where the volume on your headset? There it is. Yeah, I can hear you now.
I just removed my this.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right. So you want to go, Syed?
Yes.
Am I saying your name correctly? Tell me how to say your name. Syed?
Syed.
Syed. Okay, good. Good. All right. Well, yeah, why don't you go ahead and share your screen
Okay.
and take it away. Yeah, so Syed is, recently lived in Houston and wanted to look at property in Houston.
Okay. As you know, my name is Syed, and today I'm showing my investment proposal on a multi-family residential building located in Houston, Texas, where I lived before I moved to the Pueblo. So I will start with my proposal consists of three properties. So I will show you all the options, and finally I will give you my recommendation based on analysis and property features. So let's first start with the first one. The first one, option A, is Medbrer Park apartment, which consists of 24-unit building. The asking price is 3.2 million, and with cap rate around 6.8. It's located in Houston, Texas. It's a low-rise, two-floor, ground and first floor apartment building style, built in 1968. And one thing important is it has opportunity zone, which means you can convert your residential property into the commercial, to the lease offices and commercial offices at any time. So there is no zoning on this. So here's the highlight, like its location is very important. Like it is on the east side of the Houston, which is close to the Memorial Hermann Park and Houston Zoo, and as well as the main thing is Houston Medical Center, which is a big economic circle. Most of the people are moving there because of their need, because it has one of the biggest cancer hospitals, which is MD Anderson. And I was lived there for 3 years because of my wife has a profession in the medicine. It is hard to find the properties over there because people are looking for the property which is close to the their job, especially in the downtown areas. So the one thing that's also important with that, it is recently rebuilt, or you can say that renovated, because it was built in 1960, but in early 2000 they renovated. It has many features like granite counter style during the renovations, stainless steel appliance, which is relatively new. And this property is it also has fence property and surrounded by the huge mansions, which I believe which show the investor like this is a safe neighbor and this type of stuff. And overall is a good turnkey investment for the cash flow in regards to cash flow. So let's look on the financial side. So here's the snapshot. Like upfront capital is requirement is like 20% of the down payment, which is 64,000 of 3.2 million. And I will also include the first year operating expense that will include the some repair and maintenance and plus closing cost. I don't want to overwhelm you to go into the detail of the financial, but I can provide you in my separate spreadsheet if you're looking. Okay. Valuation estimate is for the 24 units is price per unit is 134,000 approximate, and gross multiplier is 10.2, and again cap rate is 6.83. If you will talk about the return on investment, which is 15.90, I think it's a good, because the rent opportunity is higher for 24 units as compared to, I will discuss in my next option what are the other properties. Mortgage rate, I picked 3%. It's hard to find the mortgage interest rate below 3 for the commercial property. In the residential property you have this option, but not in the commercial property. But Houston, Texas market is a little cheaper than Colorado, so you can find it. Monthly repayment will be 10K, 11K, you can say that. So now I will go with my second option, which is again low-rise, built in 1981, Greenbrier, Colin Drive, which consists of 9 unit as compared to 24 unit in the previous option. Listed price is very low because of their unit, 750,000 with a cap rate of 6.76, which again, good. There is no opportunity zone. It means if you cannot convert these properties into the commercial because you are in residential area. Highlight, again, all these units are, according to the websites, are 100% occupied. The rate is, average rate is 950 because they are 2 to 3 bedroom apartment. So on average is 950, which is, I believe, cheap rate as compared to if you are in Houston. But I think it's has a low feature like the journal. They have the appliances and the normal appliances, normal counter and carpet, no in laminate flooring and this type of stuff. But still, the one thing is important. It's only 8-minute drive from the Houston George International Airport, which is if someone is traveling, and on this average rent of 950, they can, either they can, use this opportunity for the rental purposes. That's why they said it's 100% occupied. And they have a separate covered parking, which is also covered with the shade, but not attached to the property. Again, the financial snapshot is you require 20% down payment, which is 150,000, and 52,000 around you need a yearly expense in advance. Price per unit is 83,000, gross multiplier 7.3, cap rate is 6.76. Again, a very good analyzed ROI, which is 15.75. And
The previous one, Syed?
Previous one is 15.95 or something, which again.
Okay. Same ballpark, okay.
Yes, but this is the a listing price is 750,000. That's why the monthly payment repayment after 20% is only 2.5K.
Right.
Right. The last option, which is which is on other side of the Houston, which is like downtown area.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, and it's here. Build is in 2016, 2.7 million for only 6 unit. Is because of it is located in downtown, and normally there is a high price for the downtown.
Right.
And these
And this is new construction also, huh?
yeah, and these are separate townhouse. Each townhouse has a 3-floor, and I'm going to give you detail in the highlight. Like these are the 6 identical 3-story townhouse. Each unit include the 3-bed, 3.5 bathroom, and 2 spaces of parking, garage. And these 3-story consist of ground level, and that has a kitchen, living area. And one thing is important, like on you have the access of the roof, which act as a patio, and you have amazing look of downtown if you want. And again, you are sitting in the downtown if you like the downtown.
Yeah, this one's a little closer to downtown than the other two, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
they are
this one is like a minute away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
As a snapshot, again, you require, because of 2.7 million, at least 20% down payment, which is like for 540,000. Operating expense is less than others because it's newly built. So we don't expect, maintain, repair and maintenance and this type of stuff.
Right.
Unit cost is 450,000. Gross multiplier is still higher because of, it's only 6 unit and high listing price. So your potential of a rental opportunity is among only 6 unit.
Mm-hmm.
ROI analyzed is less than 15, but still 14.92.
Mm-hmm.
Monthly payment is 9,000 because of 2.7 million listed properties, and you're only applying 20% down payment.
Right.
Okay. In summary, now I'm aggregating everything.
Yeah.
So in your option A, you can see that you have 24 unit, price per unit 134,000, gross multiplier 10.2, cap rate 6.83, and high analyzed among all is in option A, which is 15.90. again, the cap rate is 16.83 as compared to 6.76 in option B and 6.41. So I believe these options are good for the investment. It depends upon, how much you guys can invest on it and what your, how much in your pocket.
If you could only do one, which one would you do, Syed?
In my recommendation,
Oh, okay.
my recommendation, yes. In my recommendation, I will go with the option A. Is because of 24 unit, it is you have a diversity in your rental income, because if you have vacant houses out of two out of 24, which has, you're losing less monthly rental income rather than, in other option, you have 2 out of 6, 2 out of 9. So that is a better opportunity. I think that's why you are asking us to at least 10 unit for the multinational apartment building. And that was my reason to research why I don't go with the 6, 9, 2, why I have to go to the big, because you have a lot of room to, to have more flexibility, to control your expenses in terms of rental income opportunity.
Yep.
So again, this property is renovated new, so a little bit, but it's old property. So you will expect the, repair and maintenance, but still renovated. So you can say that it's a good investment. And again, the opportunity zone, which is, yes, you can convert anytime these building into the commercial
Well,
property.
if it's an opportunity zone, then I believe the investment can appreciate tax-free if you hold it long enough. An opportunity zone gives you the ability to defer your taxes and possibly wipe them out completely. I think that requires like a 10-year hold, but if you do a 5-year hold, you save plenty on taxes, as I understand it. Is that your understanding, Syed?
Yes, that's all.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, parts of Pueblo have opportunity zones, and I think lots of places have. Their opportunity zones are all over the country, but they tend to be in in lower income areas, because that's the idea, is to try to improve some of these areas. So yeah, I think it's a good analysis. Let's look at your
Thank you.
your spreadsheet, and while you're pulling that up, I'll say that my dad's been doing multifamily for a long time, and he told me, at least 10 units, because even if you have only a duplex, you get almost the same headaches that you get with an apartment building. So having more units is better, because the level of maintenance and people you need to make it run without it being your day-to-day headache ends up being, not that different. It's much better to scale up. And so, and the other thing about your option C, I think it was $450,000 in Houston for a townhouse. That seems pretty spendy. I mean, if you went out to like Katy, Texas or something for 450, you get like a 4,000 square foot house or something, right?
Yeah, then that option, your rental, your asking rental income is $2,800, which is not afforded by everyone, but
right.
if the person in profession, like in medicine, like doctors, nurses, and this type of stuff, and that's why it's close to the medical center also.
Right. Right. Yeah, those people expect more too. When you have people paying higher rent, they tend to be pickier about stuff. They can be a pain. Okay, you got where's your ROI worksheet?
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, but I see your PowerPoint. You may have shared the information rather than your desktop.
I don't know how to share it. New share. Yeah,
there should be a share your entire desktop. That probably is easiest. There. Okay, there you go. Good.
Okay.
All right.
So the valuation matrix, and this is for the property option A.
Okay. Here we go. All right. So.
So rental income is 1,100 multiplied by 24 units. So it's 26,400 per month.
That's your projected rent. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think, I think one assumption here that's probably too aggressive is the interest rate on the loan. I don't think you get 3%. I think, I don't know exactly what it would be, but I think on this size of commercial loan,
Mhm.
like even if you look in residential, they have what's called a jumbo mortgage. So I think once you cross like, I don't know, somewhere around $500,000 or $600,000, I suspect Matt has some experience with this because of the higher prices in San Diego. It's a different mortgage and it tends to have a higher interest rate than the market rate that you'd find on Freddie Mac. And then for a commercial loan of this size, I think just the risk involved for the bank of default would probably make them, my guess is it might be closer to 5%, but I could be wrong. But that'd be one area where I would think you'd have to take into consideration a possibility of paying a higher rate, which would reduce your ROI.
And that,
The expenses, they look, well, you've got maintenance, repairs, miscellaneous, and renovation for a total of $60K. That seems about right, I guess. Management at $5K is probably low. You're probably looking at, I think you're looking, if you had property management, full-time property management, your ballpark would be about 10% of rent annually. So that's a pretty big price tag there. Maybe if you hired somebody to be on-site management, it would probably be less, but then you're just one person quitting away from having to figure out how to run the apartment building again. But so there's a few things that you'd have to play around with to make sure that this was a deal. But it does look like it's got strong potential. Why do you think, one thing that comes up that I think about is, the ROI and the multipliers, the valuations, they all point, Colorado Springs is more expensive than Houston. Why do you think that would be?
in the Houston or in all Texas, I think they have the huge land. And over here in Colorado, the construction cost is higher than, the Texas.
Yeah.
And they have the cheap land. That's why, the prices are lower. And there is no state tax in terms of overall.
Income.
If you see that, there is no
Right.
taxes in the Texas. That's the reason why.
Yeah. Well, Texas is also well known to have very loose, property zoning regulations. So they're a little more accommodating than most other states in terms of like, I want to build an apartment building here. It's easier to get approval, or that's my understanding at least, is that Texas has a reputation for being pretty light on regulation, which sometimes leads to weird, combinations of structures. I remember driving from Houston to Austin and seeing some weird like commercial buildings right next to houses, and it just looked odd. And I think that's part of the Texas way is lower regulation and more flexibility. And like you said, there's so much land that land costs are low, taxes are low. So, the thing, and then the other thing that relates to one of the early articles I posted about how banks were, reluctant to finance properties on in the North Carolina coastal area. I think Houston is, Houston's a place that's going to see more hurricane activity, more flooding events, stuff like that. So to me, the risk premium is probably a little higher. It's not that there's no risk in Colorado Springs. There is, but it's not quite as potentially devastating as some of the risk that I see in Houston due to what seems to be an increased frequency and power of hurricanes coming through and potentially hitting that area. All right, Ed, any reaction to that?
Yes, the Katy Houston, my sister lived there, and they expect, a water flooding a lot over there because it is on downside of the, uh, on the Texas area. So
Yeah, yeah. Okay, any questions for Syed? All right, good job, Syed.
thank you.
Actually, one question. This is Matt.
Yeah. Go.
Hey, I missed the gross rent multiplier on the one you chose to as what the one you recommended. What was the gross rent multiplier?
It's 10.2.
10.2.
Okay. Okay. Great. The ROI 15%. That's good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, good return. And you wouldn't want to pay that. That's the asking price that you based the valuation on, right?
Yes, that is listing price.
Yeah, yeah. So, you'd want to offer less, and if you were, you'd want to check your numbers. Like, so what if I got it for 3 million even? What would the number? How would that impact the numbers? And you'd have to fiddle around to get that. But, yeah, good question, Matt. All right. Good job, Syed. Who's up? Who's next?
I can go.
Oh, Jamie, don't be so assertive,
I don't know what I'm doing though, but we're gonna figure this out.
You're not fooling me. You don't fool me, Jamie. I know you better.
And you'll be surprised.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, oh, I just hit the big green button. Okay, let's go. And okay, cool. So everyone can see my screen.
I can see your screen.
Cool. So yeah, this is me. Hi, I'm Jamie, and this is my investment proposal. Why isn't this working? There we go. So this is the property on St. Vern Street, Parkmore Flats. This one is also in Colorado Springs. It's like kind of not necessarily downtown, but it's very close. Like you could probably it's like a bike ride away from downtown. So it's not like the most like advantageous area for apartment building, but I mean it works. There's 26 units in it, offered at a $4,200,000 at a 5.25 cap rate, Colorado Springs. That was kind of just the information that LoopNet gave me. And this is kind of just a little bit about the property. It has a mix of 1-bedroom and 2-bedroom units. It does have 1 3-bedroom, but it's the same price as the 2-bedroom, and it's a little less square feet. So I kind of just threw it in with the 2-bedroom. There's 26 units, has an average occupancy of 96%. Yeah, like I said, right next to downtown Boulder Park. There's 17,100 square feet. An interesting thing about the parking is they gave me a parking ratio, which is 1.08 per 1,000 square feet, which means it actually has 28 parking spots. That's a little on the low end just because they do have a 3-bedroom unit and 2-bedroom units. Then the price per the unit is $161,538, and it was built in 1948. So when I first kind of chose this property, I wanted to do a comparative sales analysis just to kind of make sure that you were going to get what you were offering for the property and you weren't, paying way over its valuation. This is a similar property in Colorado Springs. It's in a little worse area, and they have a lot more units. And they claimed an average occupancy of 100%. I don't know how accurate that is, and has a little bit higher of a cap rate. But whenever I kind of looked at the inside of the apartments, they were a little less modernized compared to the other apartments that we're going to go with today. So I think that's kind of how they got the valuation they did. Another property that we went through were these ones, the ones that Brett actually went and did his presentation on. And so same thing, I think that it was a little bit to do with the kitchen. The apartments that we offer have amenities that include a fireplace, a kitchen, and a lot of greenery. We'll show pictures later. And so I think that that's how we got the valuation estimate of $3,900,000. I kind of just did based on units, price per unit, price per square foot, parking, location, amenities, and came up with this evaluation.
And what's the asking price?
The asking price was $4,200,000.
Okay.
So just a little shy, which
Yep.
I mean, so yeah, so it's about $150,000 per unit. We came up with the after 20% down, the loan payment would be $3,120,000. Rent, 850 for a 1-bedroom. There's 18 1-bedroom apartments, and then there's 8 2-bedrooms. That does include that 1 3-bedroom, but we just threw it in there.
Mhm.
And the 2 bedrooms are 1,100. I thought those are reasonable. I think that there is a lot of outside landscaping on the property, and I think that if that was kept up a little bit more, you might be able to charge a little bit more. Just from the outside, it doesn't look the most pleasant, but the inside's really modernized. So I think that you might be able to up the rent a little bit, but that was the recommendation, so we just went with that. The monthly loan payment would be $14,895.36. Annual expenses came out to $88,000, and our ROI we got was 9.7.
Okay.
Here's just a picture. We can definitely, I have the spreadsheet that we can like log in and mess with on some numbers, but basically, so rent, 20, that's weird that the, oh, sorry, I don't know how to go back either. There we go. The rent, it should just be the 24,100. This one might be.
Oh, you just went with, you went with a 95%.
Yeah, but I kind of put in my vacancy. But anyway, so these are kind of expensive. We did like a vacancy of 14,888, and then repairs. I think I accidentally did that twice, but the rent should have been 24,100. And repairs and maintenance, a little over 22,000. Utilities, a little over 23,000. Those were off the valuation that LoopNet basically recommended. Property management, insurance for a total of 88,000. And it kind of gave us an ROI. This ROI is saying 8.67, but it's because the rent should just be 24,100 because I allocated for vacancy and the expenses. So yeah.
Probably I think the way you did it with rent is probably the right way to do it, because it's not money out of your that you write a check for when you can't collect rent. It's just lower revenue. So probably the way you have it there, the 22,895, and this isn't something you have to worry about. I would probably zero out the vacancy and leave the rent at 22,895. I think that's probably the right way to look at it from an accounting standpoint. But anyway, continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're totally. So yeah, this is kind of basically what our annualized return on investment was going to look like. And then here we have our payment schedule, and it's about 14,000 per month. And then obviously we did a 30 month or a 360 month loan payment at a 4.00 interest rate, and at our loan for $3,120,000. And so basically, based on that analysis, I kind of came up with an upfront capital of $1 million. I think that covers the 20% down, and it covers the first month's expenses and a little bit of extra cushion to, like I said, I think it's going to take a lot of initial payment to redo the outside landscaping to make it a little bit more pleasant from the outside. The interior, I do have pictures, but I, for some reason, didn't put them in here. And I don't know how to work PowerPoint or Zoom.
Yeah,
But
circle ones at the beginning, right?
I have no idea.
On slide 2, go to slide 2.
Yeah, so these are like little pictures, but I do have pictures of the interior. Can you still see my screen, or can you only see the presentation?
See what? I'm sorry?
Can you see this?
Only the PowerPoint.
Yeah, just the PowerPoint right now. Yeah. But that's okay. Let's check out your ROI.
Perfect.
I noticed fairly thin cash flow. I think you had monthly cash flow of like $500 and some dollars.
Yes, I can show you. Okay, so yeah, this was the interior, just a
There we
little
go.
bit. So yeah, it's like really updated. There's a lot. The kitchen's really nice.
Yeah.
Everything's still, and the bathrooms have marble countertops, and
Yeah, nice appliances. People love wood floors.
it's not going to be a lot of maintenance for the interior.
Well,
Oh,
it would be.
well, I shouldn't
but
say
it's-
initial repairs or any type of updating.
Right. Yeah. No. Well, you of course have to look at multiple units. There may just be a handful of them that are updated this nicely. With the gas stove, my wife would be like, "Oh yeah, that's not bad." But yeah, I think it does look very, very nice on the interior. But it still would be expensive to maintain because unfortunately renters would go in there and mess stuff up. That's just what they do. All right, so yeah, okay, so the cash flow on this one, I'm seeing now $1,800 a month cash flow, and in
So
on your slides, I think you had only 500, and that's because of you were
this is
dipping
the rent
on
thing.
the
So if I
vacancy
take
thing.
out the vacancy and then put the rent as the 22,889. that
Right, right, yeah. So yeah, I think I would do it the other way around. Reduce the rent and take vacancy off as an expense. It's not, it's because it's not really an expense.
Yeah.
It's,
So that brings up back the ROI.
okay, that, yeah. So then, yeah, it looks good. It's a big payment to make, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's the nerve-wracking part, is coming up with that $15,000 check every month. But yeah, it looks good. Let me see your expenses. So repairs, a little less than 2,000 a month. Utilities about 2,000 a month. Property management, 18. Yeah. What about, oh, okay, utilities. What utilities are you paying? Water? And
Yeah, water and trash.
yeah. Another, this is just sort of a by the way, but people love it when you include all utilities, and you can charge a lot more rent, of course. And then you also avoid the hassle that comes with having to call the utility company every time somebody moves in or moves out. You have to hassle with the tenant signing up, and then if they move out, then you have to have it revert back. And I ended up just including utilities, and once in a while you get somebody who throws you a huge electricity bill and you have to talk to them. But yeah, for me, it was worth it. Okay, Jamie, any questions for Jamie? All right, good job, Jamie.
Thanks.
Yes. All right. So we've been on an hour. So I just want to say that, everybody's welcome to stay, but once you've presented, if you, it might be an efficient use of your time to just watch it real time and do your reviews of other people. But if you have to go, don't feel like you have to, you don't have to stay till 1 o'clock. So I guess I just wanted to clarify that. If if you need to jump off, and I'll post recordings and I'll try to chop them up so that you don't have to watch all the stuff in between. I'll try to chop them out. We'll see. I think YouTube will let me do that without too much difficulty. So, all right. So next up, we've got Emilio, Matt, or Kobe.
I'll go.
Matt will go. Okay, Matt. You are
Let me
up. See if
share
you
my
can
screen
share your
here.
screen. So Jamie, do you graduate like after this class?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so
I honestly have like one assignment to turn in today, and I'm done.
yeah. So, but if you weren't to pass this class, you'd be stuck in college for a longer period of time, huh? A lot of power. Right?
Unfortunately, a lot of my future's in your hands then.
No, you have no worries, Jamie. You know I'm a softie. You did good work. All right. Well, if I don't get a chance, congratulations on completing your education, and best wishes to you, Jamie. I hope you'll stay in touch and let me know all your great successes that I know you will achieve.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And yes, I will definitely stay in touch.
Okay, good.
Can you guys see my screen?
I can see your screen. I can see Las Brisas.
Yes. Yes.
All right. Is it the full screen, or do you is that all you see? So make sure I got
Yeah,
multiple.
I think that's all I'm seeing.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, it's Matt Appleton. I chose Las Brisas Apartments in Vista, California. It's a 22-unit Class C building. I chose the Class C building first off because with the market right now, Class A and Class B tend to be a little spendy in my state.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems that the vacancy rate is very high on Class C properties. Their list price is $5,450,000. 22 units. It's got a building size of 18,195. There's 33 parking spots and 26 garages, which is pretty unique for this area to have so many of both.
Yeah.
Parking ratio of 3.4, and it was built in 1980. Got a real good mix of apartment units. It's got one studio. I believe the studio is probably for a manager. So if it's kind of rare you see just one studio in such a large apartment complex. But anyway, one studio, there's 811, 7 2-1s, and 6 2-2s. So it's a pretty good mix.
Mhm.
Like I said, 26 garages. Now I listed the garages out separately because talking to somebody, what they do is they rent it out and the garage is optional.
Right.
Because some folks use it as storage. Some have 2 garages and use one for a car and one for storage, depending on, like you said, maybe there's a family in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath.
Mhm.
So right there, you see the monthly incomes for each one. Came out to a gross of 34,658 at the end of the month. That's including the garages.
Yeah.
Um,
The studio might serve as an office too, you know, like if somebody, if it's an owner, you know, who kind of keeps a close eye on things, that it could be used as an office.
yeah. So here's the overview, some photos of the actual property.
Mhm.
It's pretty well maintained. I've got some up from capital to do some landscaping improvements. I like landscape as long as it's not dirt. I
Yeah.
probably would have put rock over some of that dirt.
Yeah.
The interior is a little dark, even though they do have upgraded laminate floors and AC units in all the units right now.
Mhm.
Still a little dark. Just like Brett, I'll probably put a little bit in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Other than that, the garages for this area, and we'll see why later on. It's real rare you get a spot and a garage
Right.
as an option. So that's a pretty cool thing about this area. Vista's an up and comer. Building's recently painted. The roof has been recently done, which out here it gets to be pretty spendy if you got to do a roof.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Are those tiles just around the edge? It looks like the tile.
yeah,
Tiles
it's
are
yes,
expensive to
yeah.
replace.
terracotta. No, yeah, just around the edge.
It's just
Terracotta tile.
decorative. Yeah.
That's a look from the 80s out here in
Yeah.
California.
Yeah, I like it, but if you had to worry about replacing all of it, that would be you wouldn't want. But what's up with
Yeah.
the blue? Is that like a dishwasher that's blue? That's kind of. I mean, you might
That's
get
the,
just
that's the dishwasher.
out the blue thing.
Maybe it's the protective film. They just put it in new. Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway,
And then on-site laundry, but not in unit.
on-site laundry, not a unit. I would have thought there'd be more laundry units there, but yeah,
Yeah,
kind of small for such a large apartment complex.
right.
Maybe get a couple
It's
more.
just
in
that
there.
one laundry area.
Yep.
For
Yep.
26 units or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you might, yeah. I mean, if you were, you know, if this were an investment you were looking closely at, you might get somebody in there and say, well, you know, what would it cost to put in like a little compact washer dryer stacked, you know,
Yeah.
unit?
Yeah,
Because that would probably allow you to raise your rent quite a bit.
I would
for
definitely put a set of
clients.
stack units in there for sure. By the
Yeah.
way, that income on those coined machines and that income isn't part of, isn't included.
Yeah.
So that's something separate you could use for, I guess, miscellaneous.
Yeah. I doubt it would amount to a whole lot, but yeah.
Right. Probably just enough to maintain those machines.
Right.
So I've got annual expenses here for the property taxes, 81,750. That's 1.5%. Insurance 16,500. Maintenance at 12. Repairs at 6,000. I got management at 8,133, and I got a miscellaneous $2,000. Total expense of 126. The gross rental income is 397. And I got the garage income there of 18,720, and then the vacancy loss of 3%. Why 3%? It seems to be the average for this area at 11,915. Effective gross income is 403. Get down to the net with a cap rate at 5.09.
So the management seems pretty low to me. 8,000
Yep.
for management. How'd you come up with that number?
Originally, I was thinking, so I would take care of handling the landscaping. The management part is really just collecting the checks, making sure that gets paid in.
Yeah.
It's not so much more of it's a little hands-on here, not full on. Here it is. Don't call me.
Right.
I'll check my bank account every week.
Yeah. Well, I think this would be, something with management expenses this low would be part of a good or best case scenario. And then you'd also want to say, okay, well, if it got to be too much, and I handed it over to a professional property management company, what would that look like and how would that affect the numbers? That'd be the kind of thing you'd want to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So investment on the list price. So the unit's 22 units. It came out to $247 per unit and $299 per square foot, which seems to be average, right in line for that area. Gross multiplier of 13.7. I've got the capital investment on that is the loan amount is $3,815,000 with a down payment of at 30% over 30, an interest rate of 4%. Closing costs 136. The monthly payment on that is $18,213. I've got title insurance in there, inspection fee in there, and the upfront improvements. Because when I looked at it, I thought it had a few things I would have upgraded.
Yeah.
Bit of the landscaping and maybe brighten up the kitchen area.
Right.
Which gave the initial investment of 1.793.
Yeah.
Looking at comps that have sold in the area, it seems that these properties are being bought up by real estate groups
Oh yeah.
or investors with partners.
Yep. Right on.
Okay, so here's the ROI analysis. 7.31, probably nothing to write home about, but that being said, the appreciation estimate is at 0 and the rental growth was at 0 doing these calculations. So I kind of kept it probably worst case for the next 4 years, just keeping it flat.
Yeah. Well, look at the cash flow on that. It's pretty good.
Yep.
I mean, if somebody, let's say you wanted to semi-retire, you're tired of doing whatever it is you do during the day, and you just wanted to, if you could afford it. I mean, that's enough income if you include, if you live in the studio and you got plenty then to pay for groceries and some entertainment. So there's a lot of value that goes along with that level of cash flow. So even if the annualized return is single digits, there's still quite a bit of potential upside. And and if it turns out you could raise rent by either including utilities or adding in the laundry or things like that, then that number, and then the 5.45, that's asking price, is that right, or is that close to?
Yeah. Which I think you could probably get them down a little bit on that.
Probably, yeah. I mean, you never know, but you could run the numbers at say 5 million even, which maybe is stretch, but you could just kind of see. And I like that you did 30% down, just because it gives me an opportunity to say that sometimes you want to put more than the minimum down, because sometimes if the cash flow is too tight with a certain mortgage payment, you might improve it by being able to lower the mortgage amount, the loan amount, so that you have a more comfortable level of cash flow. So I think that this creates that cash flow. I mean, you have to come up with more money up front. You had about 1.8 million up front, which is a lot of capital. But that level of cash flow that creates, that's kind of a nice insurance policy. You'd really have to get stuck with your pants down to get in, to get upside down on this. So I think it's it's just something to think about if you have for in the future for commercial investments. Don't just assume that you'll pay the minimum down. Look at other scenarios where you pay more, and check the cash flow and the ROI, and as a way to think about the risk that you're taking. It's not just all about ROI. It's also, do you have enough cash each month to make sure that this doesn't become a liability where you have to feed it.
Yeah, I thought the monthly cash flow at almost 5,000. You get the unexpected, oh crap, this broke or what have you. Like you said, $18,000 nut every month. That's a payment. So I think if you get 5,000 a month, you can get a couple of months back behind you. That help out. with the
Yep.
month that you might be skinny. I don't know, maybe you have 6, 7 tenants that move out the same month, who knows?
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah, you know,
And-
another way to think about the monthly cash flow is like, okay, well, what kind of salary would you need? You know, you probably have to have like, that's probably equivalent to a salary of 85K or thereabouts once you take taxes and some of the other things that come out of your paycheck. You know, so the tax rate on the income on the rental would still be treated as income, but it's, you know, it's easier to, there's so many expenses that you can use to offset that you probably end up paying a lower net tax on that money. So there's, so there, you know, there are ways to look at it. And then the, you know, just the tax, you know, once you have real estate that you can use as a deductible, depending on how aggressive you and your CPA want to get, there are ways to really reduce tax burdens that if you have them. So, oh, sorry, Matt, go ahead.
no, it's okay. So, you know, this area in California right now with the home prices the way they are,
Mhm.
they're almost back up to where we were in 2007, 2006. They are actually back there. So it seems to me that we have a 100% vacancy rate here, and it's on a Class C building. They're all at full occupancy right now. There's very few that have open units. Anyway, so why invest in this area in Las Brisas? It is in the heart of Vista, strong rental market. It's 10 minutes to Cal State San Marcos University, which is a growing school here up in Vista. It's 20 minutes to the beach, multiple beaches, 45 minutes to downtown San Diego. There was just a ton of restaurants around this neighborhood, shopping, breweries. Actually, that Highway 78 has been labeled the IPA highway. There's that many breweries have moved to the 78. It's pretty funny. It's got a really good transit system. It's got a bus system that goes to the coast, it goes up and down the coast. And you've got the Wild Animal Park, and it's really an up and coming neighborhood. I'm older than most folks here, but many moons ago, this used to be an area I'd ride around the hills on my dirt bike, and now it's just homes.
Yeah. What would your commute to LA be from here? Like to say Orange County or something like that?
You can be in Irvine, Orange County in an hour from here.
So,
downtown LA, hour and a half, depending on traffic.
Right.
Yeah.
And then what about to downtown San Diego?
45 minutes, 50 minutes.
Yeah. So there's the appeal, right? If you've got two major job markets available to you essentially from this location, given what people are willing to do to live in Southern California, which is drive a lot, right? If they have to be somewhere.
You're also close to Camp Pendleton if you're in the military.
Right. Right.
Cool. And there is a transit system. You are about 5-7 minutes from the transit to where you can take the trolley downtown if you don't want to drive.
What, downtown San Diego?
Yeah. There's a trolley stop probably 10-15 minutes from this property, and you can take the trolley down to San Diego.
So you just park there and then don't have to deal with the entire commute, just a small portion.
Yep.
Excellent. All right. Yeah, let's look at why don't you pop open your ROI worksheet, Matt?
Let's do it. Trying to find the share button here again.
Is this your screensaver here with the industrial?
Yeah, those are cartridge. Those are cartridge filters for an RO facility we put in.
An RO? Oh, okay. You mean the reverse osmosis? Is that what RO?
Yes. Yeah.
So are you in like water treatment business or something like that? Is that your?
Yeah, I'm a civil engineer. I work
okay.
for build and maintain wastewater treatment plants.
Wow.
Actually, but lately we've been building these. We've been building RO plants.
Wow.
Water in California is gold. So
yeah,
this was a project, 10 million gallons a day.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's really
Can
cool.
you see?
Yeah, I can see your spreadsheet.
Okay.
Yep.
There you go.
Okay, let's look at your expenses. Look at those taxes. Boom.
Boom.
Insurance. So utilities, you're passing all utilities on?
Yeah.
Okay, that might be tough. But maybe that's just the way it is there. It wouldn't fly here. You
Each
basically
unit,
end up
each
having,
has separate meters. There's 22 meters over there.
right,
So they've got their own gas and electric.
yeah. But what about water and trash?
The water and trash gets divided up. That gets passed to the unit.
Oh, okay. So
It-
you
in
just
the-
tack
it's
that
in the
onto
rent.
rent?
Yeah, it's built into the rent.
Got you. But you probably would, so, you'd still have an expense there though, right? You'd still have to reach the local water company or to the, and maybe check
Yes.
as well. So, you'd probably want to revise that. If you didn't build that into the rent, you'd want to build it into the rent, but then also account for it as an expense.
Those, okay.
Yeah. Maintenance and repairs, management. Yeah, I think the taxes are so huge that it looks like the expenses are plenty big enough. But then the individual, with utilities at zero and maintenance and repairs at only $1,500 a month. For sure, some months you're just going to run over. I guess you got the $2,000 cushion there, but it's I think that'd be an area for sensitivity testing. Like, okay, well, what if it ends up being, what if I end up having to pay $3,000 a month for maintenance, repairs, and miscellaneous? You just want to see what the deal looks like after that. But yeah, I think that I think this actually looks pretty good because in California, the valuations are just usually ahead of rent because Southern California is an incredibly desirable place to live. People like living near the ocean. They like living in the mild climate, and there's tons and tons of jobs in LA and in San Diego. And so it's probably pretty hard to find deals that are much better than this in terms of ROI.
Unfortunately, out there too, they're trying to limit the amount of apartment buildings they're building, and they're building more homes, which I think is backwards from what we need. I think we need more apartment buildings than we do individual homes, just because of the the population and there's no there's more demand than supply, right? Supply is just so skinny. It's
Yep.
not even really.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. And probably, I think once people have people who live in neighborhoods that are predominantly single family, then they become this, they use the NIMBY approach, not in my
NIMBY.
backyard approach to anything new that comes along. And if it's something that they consider a potential source of, people who they consider to be below them, an apartment building, you get a lot of resistance. I saw this recently in Colorado Springs, where there was a proposal to build a relatively large apartment building near Fort Carson. And you'd think that, well, who's going to complain about lots of apartment buildings near Fort Carson, the military, big military base? Well, there were plenty of people complaining then. So, yeah, I don't know. We have to get over it. We have to get into higher density housing at some point. Otherwise, we're just going to have more homeless people than we have,
Right.
and that's just untenable. So, all right. Any questions for Matt? All right. Good job, Matt. Way to go.
All right.
Okay. So what do we got? Kobe or Emilio? Emilio, you're unmuted. So I'm thinking you're volunteering. Are you ready?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm gonna try to get this going. Yes, you good?
I'm sorry. Did you have a question, Emilio?
Are we good? Is it on?
I think I'm still looking
I think
at,
Matt needs to stop
I'm
sharing,
still,
or otherwise you
yeah.
gotta switch to Emilio's.
Yeah, you might have to stop sharing, Matt. There we go. There's Emilio. Okay. Take it away, Emilio.
Okay, so the property that I found was So the Apache Motel and Apartments, it's on West Pikes Peak Avenue, which is west side of Colorado Springs, and it's kind of, I guess, in that sort of pocket between Manitou and really west Colorado Springs.
Mhm.
And there's a little bit more information about it. So you see the blue diamond where it's located. So south of that is going to be Red Rocks open space. A little bit northwest of that is going to be Garden of the Gods area. You go a little bit southeast and you can hit Old Colorado City, downtown Colorado Springs. And then obviously west Manitou up Highway 24 to kind of however far you want to go. Left-hand side, you can kind of see the views, those big rocks at the top of the picture, obviously the main center of Garden of the Gods. So I thought this was a very interesting location, and not a lot of stuff, I guess, that I've seen opens up around here to an extent. I know there's Silver Saddle Motel was held for a long time right in Manitou, and once it was on the market, it got picked up pretty quickly.
Mhm.
So this one kind of interested me because, I mean, you'll see in a few, it's kind of a shot in the dark, but from the numbers that have been presented, seems like a decent pickup, but also there's some unknowns about it.
Sure.
So
Best deals always have some element of something that turns people away, you know?
exactly, yeah, and that's why I found this one.
You don't get the best deals if everything looks wonderful. You know, that's when the high price, that's when the big money comes in and is willing to take that 5% cap rate.
Exactly, and this is so. These are sort of the images. As you can see, it's not a very high-end place for living. Very small rooms, and some of the details about it. They're asking $1,695,000, which I'm unsure of, but you know, they talk about location. They talk about being very close to certain amenities. It's basically just one bedroom, one bath floors. But I found interesting that the short-term leases are available here. So you don't necessarily have to abide by the strict like motel policy. And you can also have that flexibility of renting to long-term or people that don't want to rent if they're staying in a certain area just for work. So I think the definition, right, of short-term rentals, please correct me if I'm wrong, is someone not planning to stay for longer than 31 consecutive days. Is that correct?
Mhm. Sounds right to me. Yeah. So you're thinking that this could be like an Airbnb income type thing rather
Yeah,
than
or even
rental,
something with like special occasion, right? So
right?
people wanting to come because tourist season in Colorado Springs, especially like in the summer, is what stimulates a lot of the local growth. A lot of local shops are being visited. Places like Garden of the Gods, Manitou, people are spending in Manitou and like going and seeing Red Rocks open space and all that stuff.
Yeah.
A little older building, 1946, but there have been some renovations in 2019. There's very limited information on the on LoopNet that they put up, so I was just interested to see what those were. I couldn't really tell. So there's a couple mixes of units. So there's 4 of the short-term ones that I assume that they just kind of set aside to have that allowance. I think that you'd be able to determine which studios could be short-term and long-term, but I think they just kind of have this now due to there's no vacancy in it right now. Studio number 10 was just a little bit larger in square footage, so that's why I kind of put it separately, and the rent is a little bit higher. There's some bigger 1 bedrooms, and then the 1 bedroom manager, which I just told out just because they kind of have like a deck and whatever mini deck you want to call it. So I just kind of averaged the 16 rooms and got 105,000 per unit, which for those small sort of studios and not sort of flashy seems pretty pricey to me. But also it seems that people are willing to pay it in that area.
Mhm.
So for my GRM, I just got the number of units. The average monthly rent, and this is all from their website, totaled it up, added it annually, and so you get the 182,400 from all of these rooms annually. So when it comes out to GRM of 9.3, I think it was a little bit higher than that, but I rounded it down to 9.3.
Okay.
And this is what intrigued me because I had, sent you something before, and I said this market is decently tough in Colorado Springs because there seems to be a lot of homes, but the GRMs are pretty high. Anywhere from 11 to up to 16, depending on what part of the town you're in.
Yeah.
And more so the west side, it's pretty traditional. You know, they want to keep things that not necessarily older look, but that more classic vintage west side Colorado Springs look. And that's how this is. I mean, the Apache painting, the mural on the wall, and that only attracts, you know, a certain type of person.
Yeah, I would think that it might uh, um, unattract some people.
Yeah,
You know,
definitely.
it's
For
got
sure.
I mean, I think it's kind of cool, but I bet you could, I bet by just painting over it, you might, it might increase the value, you know, it might increase
Yeah.
rental income.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking too. But also, that's that painting, that mural, is a pretty popular like picture place too, which I find interesting.
Yeah, yeah, that is, yeah. Yeah, it's probably double-edged. You know, some
Yeah,
people would be disappointed if it were to disappear, and some people would be more likely to rent or do a short-term stay if it would disappear. So you'd have to think carefully.
yeah, exactly. So these are the revenues that I calculated. So basically, I think that obviously there was no additional information about washer dryer units, but it said that those were located. So I assume they had to pay for them because of the size in the studio, obviously. So
Mhm.
I just kind of assumed from all those apartments, this is typically the amount we would get back plus the rent and got those revenues. And
So this would be, you mean on-site washer, dryer, or laundry, but not in unit, correct?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
And then, so there was no information about utilities and how they're dispersed throughout the rooms on the website. So
Mhm.
I assumed that it would go to the manager room, so like the one big check,
Mm-hmm.
and that they would have to pay some sort of utilities, but that was also not included. So I just summed it up into one. I didn't divide it by the room because I
Yeah.
wasn't. And then, so the taxes and the insurance, maintenance and repairs, utilities. I took the utilities, taxes, and insurance directly from their website. I assume 2,400 was a pretty good estimate for the maintenance and repairs just because of how much older that facility kind of looked. And I assume that there's going to be a decent amount of upkeeping. And then I just did a vacancy of 5% just
Yeah.
to stay safe.
So these are annual though, 2,400 annual for maintenance and repairs. I think,
Yes.
I think that's probably too low.
Too low?
Yeah, I think you'd probably end up having to spend a lot more than that. I mean, yeah, yeah, I think it probably would be closer to like, I don't know, 10 or 12 be my guess,
Okay.
but that's okay. Um, these are hard to estimate. Go
So
ahead.
then this is the net income. And this is where I was having sort of some confusions because of this cap rate, right?
Mhm.
There's no vacancy necessarily in these. And it seems that the price per square foot of these are ridiculously high. I mean,
Yeah,
but there's like the no vacancy, and that's why this cap rate seems to be very high, is because people are willing to stay there and keep paying it.
right. Well, yeah, so yeah, the thing that you'd have to do is verify the rent because the rents that they're reporting are what's driving this number. And, you know, you'd have to see, oh, okay, are they including all kinds of Airbnb expense, you know, the rents that they would get for the short-term stays, which should be higher if they have good occupancy rates. But, you know, we're in a different world right now. Airbnb traffic, I think, has decreased substantially since the onset of COVID. And so, you know, some of those numbers, you know, that's something you could do after you're under contract. You'd say, okay, I want you guys, you know, I want proof of the rent. Give me the rent roll. And then that's when you'd find out who was there on a month-to-month or long-term lease and what other amounts of cash they were including for people who were just staying for a week or a weekend.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, because like you said, travel has definitely decreased. And if people are using four of those rooms for short-term stays, like they say, then who knows what those numbers are that they're reporting.
Yeah,
And once like their rents from that was the average from that website, and that's what I went off of.
yeah, yeah. But
So
I mean, the numbers aren't out of whack. It's just that, you know, something this is smaller, so it's not going to attract the big money from, you know, big money investors because of the probably because of the mural. You know, it's a millionaire guy isn't going to send a big check to just, write, to have this as a cash flow engine. So it's a different market. It's a lower end market. It's more individual investor types who would go after this. And so they're not willing to pay as much. And so, it's just a different kind of investment. It's kind of intriguing. I think it's a good one.
Yeah. So we talked, and you also talked about this, right? How it seemed. I'd like you to at the end of what is it? Help me go through this return on investment.
Yeah, I think it's I think the loan payoff is supposed to
Yeah,
be
the
positive.
negatives, correct?
Yeah.
So when I corrected those, we can go through it too on Excel. It raised that annualized ROI.
Yeah, you probably you may have to, well, I don't know what we have to do. Yeah, maybe we could pull up the spreadsheet itself in a moment, but go ahead.
So this was basically the spreadsheet I did. We talked about how maintenance and repairs probably should be higher for something like this.
Hmm.
And this is basically what I got for that annual ROI, the loan of 20%. I put down, 339,000 for equity. And the monthly cash flow obviously intrigued me too, because it's estimated right now at about 10,000.
Yeah,
So
it's nice. Yeah, something that's missing along, that would go along with that. In order to generate that kind of cash flow and to collect $15,000 in rent, you need some management too. So either you're living
yeah,
there full time and doing everything,
and
or
that's what I'm
somebody
thinking
is,
too. Yeah, and that management fee, what's about a good estimation for that? Is that about 10% of?
10% is a good ballpark. And it may end up being higher if the rent to get to that 15K per month rent, if that involves a lot of Airbnb, then then you'd have to add in things like, somebody who cleans.
Like cleaning fees and
Yeah, so,
heating
and
Airbnb
it's
and
just
stuff.
more of a maintenance challenge. So, you may have to pay higher fees for somebody to manage that for you. But yeah, that's,
So kind of did that for the needed capital. So the starting equity, some closing costs on it just to get it. And then I did inspection, room cleanings, and any damages like we talked about just for that Airbnb sort of
Mhm.
thing.
Mhm.
Also, if there's any of those empty rooms, I don't want, obviously you want to clean them up and see anything because I don't necessarily know the type of demographic that's lived in those before.
Right.
You
Yep.
don't want to leave anything up to assumption. And then I did future renovations and expenses just to have it for that needed capital, only
Yeah.
because of where it is. It's a big flood area, so depending on what could get damaged, you never know. Um, any sort of, I just thought about anything. I didn't want to be sunken in that first month.
Yeah.
So I made
Yeah.
this.
It's always good to have some insurance in the form of cash in the bank. That's always helpful.
And especially because I felt like their reporting wasn't extremely complete. I didn't want to.
Yeah. I suspect that they're including, Airbnb style income that is, it requires higher maintenance levels.
Yeah, and so I came up with an estimated capital of 456,140.
Okay. Good. Is that the last slide?
Yes.
Okay, why don't you open up your ROI worksheet? Let's see if we can look at that a little bit.
Trying to get this thing.
Here we go.
Okay, so starting off with that loan payment, correct? That loan payoff.
Yeah, so
Making that.
so you have the principal payments. Oh, what's going on here? Yeah, your payment amount is way off.
Oh,
Here,
might not have calculated. Yeah.
Yeah, scroll to the right so I can see. Okay, so 1.356 million and an interest rate of 3.5, that might be a little low too. But if you go to that loan amortization page that I shared with you previously, I could pull that up and calculate the payment for you real quick.
Let me get into that real quick.
All right, so 1,356,000, 30 years. I'll stick with the 3.5%. I think it'd be tough to get that. So I've got monthly payments of $6,089.05.
Yeah, I'm wondering why this
That's going to change
wasn't.
the numbers quite a bit.
So it's just this payment didn't update on that schedule.
Yeah, well, yeah. So enter in 6,089 and 5 pennies, and then drag that all the way to the bottom, and everything will change.
Oh, this thing's bugging.
I just went too far. It's okay.
Yeah, it's just like sticking on.
I got a keyboard shortcut for you. If you do Control Shift down arrow, it'll go to the last spot,
Oh, there we go.
and then you can just
Okay,
delete. Okay. All right. So now let's look in the upper left portion of the spreadsheet. Okay. So now you're paying off 26K. That's good. So having the negative was problem, and so you've got still your cash flow has been chopped in half.
yes.
But the 10K was a little suspect to begin with.
Yep.
And so, yeah, you probably would have to, let's say, I'd say put maintenance at 12,000, and then I'd probably remove the vacancy, just make that, actually you could make that, you could say you make that management, and then that's probably closer to like, what would it be? Probably about 18,000 or something like that, ballpark. And then, yeah, I think that's closer. You probably, yeah, there may be other stuff, but that's a lot closer. So you still have a very nice return. You probably would have to put more than that 20% down, and so that would shrink the cash flow a little bit and the ROI a little bit, but it would be safer that way.
Mm-hmm.
You may not be able to get 3.5%. You might have to figure 4 or 5. But this is I think this shows the advantage of buying a building that looks weird.
Yeah.
When things look weird, there are fewer people interested, and that's usually where you can find some value, find a bargain. And, because the returns on this are pretty good. But again, you'd have to scrutinize the rent and make sure that, it was something you could replicate.
Okay.
And yeah. Okay. Any questions for Emilio? All right. Good job, Emilio. Kobe, I think you're up, buddy.
All right.
Kobe, where are the 2 other Musketeers? Where's Jason and Miranda? Is that right?
Mariah.
Mariah. I was close. I got like 2 of the syllables.
Jason graduated, so it's just me and Mariah left.
Okay. And tell her I feel personally, I take it personally that she didn't enroll in a class with me. So just let her know that I said that.
I will. All right. All right, I shared my screen. Can you see it?
Yep, sure can.
All right. So the property I chose was actually the same as Jamie's. So it's located
Okay.
in Colorado Springs, very close to downtown.
All
And
right.
it's listed at 4.2 for 26 units.
Okay.
So some of the exterior photos, so these are some of close-ups of the buildings themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a lot of landscaping that would be included in this,
Mm-hmm.
but from the looks of it, it doesn't look like too much. And in the long run, if it became an issue, it could always be replaced with rock, because rock can replace grass at any point, really.
Yep.
Some aerial photos show the neighborhood around it. So the neighborhood surrounding it is really nice. I don't see anything from afar that would cause any trouble. And there's also a park right across the street. So it's a super nice area in general.
Yeah.
Some of the interior photos, so they are very updated to me. I like the hardwood flooring, because hardwood flooring is a lot easier to maintain than carpet is. And
Yeah, people love it.
after every tenant, you wouldn't necessarily have to replace the hardwood if it's in good shape, whereas carpet, a lot of times it has to be replaced because of stains and wear and tear in general.
Oh yeah.
So, and the kitchen, it's a good sized kitchen, it's a good sized living room. The bedrooms are good size as well. The only thing that really sticks out to me is the bathroom. It might need a little bit of updating, which each individual unit would be different probably,
What would you
but
do?
everything else,
What's wrong with the bathroom? The one I'm
it just looks a little bit dated. So as long as everything works, I wouldn't have to worry about that right away. It would kind of be a long-term investment,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. I
it
don't know
would
if there's much you
be
can do
something to get
without
into.
spending more than you'd want to.
Yeah, definitely. So the valuation, so the price per unit is $161,538, which I think is pretty high. So when I looked at it, I thought a good price per unit would be $150,000 per unit, which would make a offer price at $3,900,000. So
What a
it was,
coincidence. Jamie came up with the exact same valuation.
yeah, I did notice that too, but
Okay.
it's
All
just
right.
I thought 150 was a pretty safe range to go with as far as price per unit.
You know, a lot of the properties we're seeing are closer to 100 per unit. So this is a little higher. On the other hand, these are not multi-level. It's garden, garden style or whatever. So it's all, and that's attractive because then you don't have somebody pounding on your head. The upstairs units disturbing the downstairs units is something super common. The other thing is, even though it's a maintenance headache, the little yard space and the little courtyard area, if you're somebody with kids, that's a lot more appealing to you than some of the other property, like the one that Brett did with the rock, with the rock stuff instead of grass. Kids can't play on that. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're okay. So the units, there are 18 units that are 1 bedroom, 1 bath, 7 units that are 2 bedroom, 1 bath, and then 1 unit that's a 3 bedroom, 1 bath. So for the gross rent multiplier, I went a little bit higher on the rent. I kind of looked at what different properties in the area in Colorado Springs, and then I considered what would be charged in Pueblo as well, because Pueblo should be a little bit lower than Colorado Springs as far as cost of living.
Should be a lot lower.
So for the 1 bedroom, 1 bath, I got, oh, sorry, I didn't update it, $950 per unit, which would be a monthly income of $17,100 for those ones. For the 2 bedroom, 1 bath, I did $1,250. And then for the 1 3 bedroom, 1 bath, I did $1,350. So total rent per month would be $27,200, and then on an annual basis, it would be $326,400.
Bucks.
So I did the gross rent multiplier for where it would be at the asking price and where it would be at the offer price. So the offer price obviously made the gross rent multiplier lower, but it is still fairly high at 11.9, which would be something that would be important to consider when wanting to get invested in this property.
Yep.
But I believe the cap rate is better to look at, as well as the gross rent multiplier, because it was a little bit lower. So here are the monthly operating expenses and the operating expenses on an annual basis. So for utilities, I did $3,000 a month with maintenance, which would include the outside maintenance, $1,250, repairs $1,250, management, I did $18,000 on an annual basis, and then miscellaneous $4,800 annually. So annually it would be operating expenses of $108,000,
Okay.
which is a little bit high, but I just would rather be on the high end than the low end.
Yep.
So for the cap rate with monthly operating expenses of $9,000 or annually of $108,000, the cap rate at the offering price of 3.9 would be 5.6%, which is fairly good. I think it would be better to see it over 6 or 7%, but 5.6 isn't terrible.
Right.
So definitely something to consider. So my ROI analysis. So this is the ROI analysis at the asking point of 4.2 with
Mhm.
down payment of 25%, which would be $1 million approximately. So this would be a ROI of 8.54%. So the monthly cash flow would be about $3,161, and return on equity would be 9.46%. So at the asking price, it's not too bad of an investment. It would just be trying to lower expenses and all of that in order to increase that monthly cash flow.
Yep.
And then I did an ROI for what would be at the offer point of 3.9.
Mhm.
So the ROI would be 9.27%. The down payment at 25% would be less. It'd be about $975,000. The monthly payment for this at this price point would be about $14,133. So it's fairly high, but that would as at a 4% interest rate. So
Right.
at 3.9, I believe it's the best, is a good offer with a monthly cash flow of $4,066. I think that's a good amount of monthly cash flow. Of course, we'd always want to increase that, but starting off, that would be good, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And then so basically my conclusion was that I would work on getting the asking price lower, offering 3.9 or lower in order to get the gross rent multiplier below 10 and raising the cap rate above 6%.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Good deal. Do you want to open up your ROI worksheet? Can
Yeah, definitely.
scrutinize that a bit.
All right.
All righty. So 27.2 in rent and yeah, management of 18,000. I think that might be a little low, but it's not too far off. So are utilities included? What utilities are included in the 36K per year?
It would just be the basic utilities of water and trash is what usually comes included in most apartment complexes, and outside maintenance as well. They wouldn't have to do their own maintenance of any of the property. So,
Oh, yeah, well, yeah, that's implied. Okay, and then let's take a look here That's your amortization schedule. 14K payment, interest rate 4.1. That sounds good. So you got your savings account building up at $4,000 per month. That's good. And then in addition to that, you've got free cash flow of about $4,000 a month. So yeah, I think it looks pretty good. It's a little spendy, but that's because I'm still stuck in 2012 Pueblo, and prices then were magical compared to what they are now. Let's see. Yeah, it looks good, Kobe. Looks like a pretty good analysis. All right, any questions for Kobe? All right, I think that's everyone. Did we get everybody done? Anybody waiting for their chance to present? Any questions for Kobe? Questions for me?
Yeah, I got some questions.
All right, fire away, Brett.
So how is Module 8 working? Is it just the presentation, or how's our discussion and our assignment working for Module 8?
Okay, yeah, good question. So your presentation is the 200 points. So I'll grade on that based on what I saw here today. And then the assignment is the critique, I guess, or so some just sort of how does it look in the how's it worded in Blackboard?
I think it says like a 1 to 2 paragraph summary of everybody's
Yeah,
presentation or something like that.
yeah, I think 1 paragraph is probably fine. And then yeah, I don't know about the discussion. I probably just give you I'll probably just give you everybody who presented a 20. I don't know what there is to discuss, but the numbers rounded neatly to 1,000 if I gave 20 a week. So, I noticed that Jamie and I can't remember, I think it was Syed perhaps, have already put comments on the discussion board. So if you put something there, then you'll get the 20 points. Sorry, it's a little, it's not exactly as tidy and tight as it should be, but that's me. So does that answer your question, Brett? Basically.
Yeah, and when do you
Right.
need that by? When does the class end?
I think Sunday. I don't actually know when grades are due. I assume that they're due next week. So I would try to get it to me by Sunday. If you can't, at least send me an email before Sunday. And if you start writing them now and then you don't see video, if I don't post video of other presentations, just submit what you have and say, as of the time that I submitted this, I only had 6 presentations or something like that. And then, and that'll be sufficient. Or,
Okay.
or I'll tell you to do a couple others if it looked like they came in right after or something like that. But so yeah, just yeah. So if you just write up, critique and submit your 2 documents, the PowerPoint and the spreadsheet, and you could just write 1 sentence in the discussion. So I remember to grade it, and that should do the trick.
Sound good?
Okay. Other questions?
Nope.
Okay. All right, guys. Well, we're just at noon, and so thank you all for joining this session. I hope you learned a few things here, and I think you all did a nice job. And probably you aren't going to be buying $4 million apartment buildings anytime soon, but I think the exercise of evaluating a commercial property, hopefully you found that valuable, and hopefully it makes the single family valuation exercise or ROI exercise seem a lot easier in comparison. And, so hopefully you'll feel comfortable doing that in the future for your investments. So that's all I have for you. So thank you. I hope you got something out of the class, and you know, if you have some feedback for me, I hope you'll do a student evaluation, or if you don't have access to that, just send me an email and let me know, you know, how I can do a better job next time, or, you know, or what you liked and what you didn't like. If you do have access to the student evaluations, they're important to me. I'll read every one of them, every word, every comment. And, you know, if you think I did a good job, give me a bunch of strongly agrees, and let my my dean and the provost know that I did a good job. And if I didn't do a good job for you, then I hope you'll let me know that too, and provide me with some good honest feedback that I can use to improve next time. Okay. All right, guys. Well, thanks again. I hope to see y'all in another class. I'm teaching a class called Managerial Analytics, an MBA elective for Fall B. So if that fits in your schedule, love to see you again. And I hope you guys have a good fall semester. It's going to be crazy, but you know, just roll with the punches. You'll be okay.
Thanks, Professor.
Thank
All right.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you bet, guys. Okay, take good care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.